Happening right now on Sports Extra, football season officially underway. What a first weekend of college football it was for everyone. We're going to break down everything from Georgia and Georgia Tech's Week 1 wins. Plus, we're also getting you ready for the Falcons season opener, which happens to be next week.
Running the ball is easier than throwing the ball, but running the ball in some conferences is harder than others. There are no free yards in football.
It was a good football game. We were able to come out on top. So, very thankful for that. We got a lot of work to do when we get back and get ready for next game.
A spicy Kirby Smart already, and we've only played one game. I love it. That is a sign of good things to come. And by the way, last Sunday without NFL football, my guy Hometeam is here. Let's start the show. Thanks for being with us each and every Sunday. Welcome to Sports Extra. And finally, our jam, our bread and butter, it is back. Football, college football, abundance, and the NFL. It'll happen next week. I've got my guy here with me, Home Team Brandon Leak from 680 The Fan. Say what's up to everyone, Home Team.
Look, sports is always a continuing entity, but football is the starting line for all of it. And I'm glad to be here in the number with the starting line.
I love it. I'm so excited that we get to talk about all things football. Let's start with the Georgia Bulldogs, because you look at Marshall and you think, okay, not exactly a scary opponent for the Bulldogs, but there was a lot of new faces on that Thundering Herd team, so you didn't know exactly what you were going to get. Luckily, Gunnar Stockton, the starting quarterback for Georgia, he dealt them a pretty good hand. This guy is a dual threat in the best way. What were you impressed with his debut as the starter?
He took care of his business. He ran the ball when he was supposed to. He was effective on the ground. He got into the end zone, which is something that is going to be a multiplier when you're talking about the points the Bulldogs would like to score. And he helped lead the Dogs to cleaning up things that were problems last year. Drop balls, not scoring in the first half, miscues. You didn't have any of those. Now, obviously, it was against Marshall, but still, there's something to be said by coming out, executing, and not being sloppy the first time you get the keys to the bus to be the starter for the Georgia Bulldogs.
I'll be honest, we saw him for the first time in the playoffs, right? And you understood a little bit of what he could give you, but I don't think other teams or even a lot of us thought he could be as much of a threat with his legs as he was.
Yeah, I think what we saw from him was that he was prepared. He was a prepared quarterback who is ready to go in at halftime of the SEC championship game and win it, to be a part of winning the game. So getting his first start in the college football playoff, I think it showed the character of how he is built, and he was ready to go. So now it is all on him. He's had great reports during summer and fall camp, and now he has a chance to prove it out on the football field. He certainly did that, and I think his legs, his mobility, particularly what we saw with the Georgia offensive line in the passing game, might be huge all season long.
All right, you brought it up. Juan Gaston got the start at right guard, becoming the first true freshman to start on Georgia's offensive line since 2017, but he went down with an injury. So did Ernest Green. So already right there were two offensive linemen down in game one. What is the level of concern that you have when you have a brand new starter at quarterback, and now there's a little bit more question marks on the offensive line?
Well, it shouldn't be on red alert, but you should be on maybe a yellow alert. You do have one more preseason game, if you will, with Austin Peay next week, but your third game of the season is against Tennessee, so you're going to be going up against SEC defensive tackles, and the Tennessee defense had some headbusters last year, so you want to make sure that this game, it turns out to be a needed game now, that you can figure out where to move some guys around. I want to see where Josh Jackson might end up as far as, where he's going to be on the left side, right side, tackle, wherever. But you got two offensive linemen who went down in that ball game, and you need to figure out quickly who is ready to be capable to deal with a lot of defensive linemen and coaches that know that the Bulldogs are wounded at that position.
I don't know why Georgia and Falcons are on the same beat with that, but the bad luck needs to run out on the offensive line for both of those teams. But two guys that were between the hedges to watch it all go down and break it down for us is Reggie Chapman and Jed May.
Welcome into Sanford Stadium here in Athens, Georgia, following the first game of the year for the Georgia Bulldogs, a 45-7 win over Marshall on a day where everybody was wondering how Gunnar Stockton would play. Four total touchdowns, 2 through the air, but the big thing was the running. That's a big difference from last year. Jed May alongside me from UGAsports.com. Jed, your major takeaways from game one?
Yeah, I mean, you saw what he could do. You know, it was two I think it was 3rd and 1, a 4th and 2, something like that, and he faked the handoff and pulled it and scored both times. And I think that's what teams are going to see on film with Gunnar Stockton is, hey, we have to respect that he might pull it, and just that can help open up the run game, which I think we're going to see as the year goes along. But yeah, he did that. He scrambled. He had a scramble in the 2-minute drive right before halftime. Throwing the ball was okay. He had, I think, 2 or 3 really long passes to Zach Branch that were thrown a grand total of like 8 yards in the air. Like it was mainly Zach Branch catching and running. But yeah, I think we all kind of expected the offense would be kind of vanilla today, not show too much. So yeah, overall, then it kind of went a little quiet in the second quarter. The offense did, but I think overall there's plenty of reason to be encouraged looking forward.
I mean, Gunnar Stockton, like you say, it's a big difference from what we saw last year. Carson had the ability to run a little bit, but it wasn't a big part of his game. Gunnar, it's clear that's something that it brings another aspect to this team's offense. It also helps when you got a guy like Zachariah Branch, right?
Yes.
Unbelievable player. His first game here in Athens for the Bulldogs after transfer from USC. He had that long touchdown on that. He was really the check down guy, took off for 1,000,000 yards for the score. What can he bring to this offense, and how electric a player can he be for this team?
Yeah, it's that run after the catch ability. Even his first catch, Georgia's 3rd play, it's a 3rd and 4, and they hit him with a little quick screen right over there, and he weaves through the defense for 25 yards. The check down, he's just standing there on the sideline. His route was done. He catches it and just takes off down the sideline for 47 yards. Now, he's not going to have as big of an athletic advantage on future SEC opponents as he did today, but still, you saw the capabilities. He's impossible to tackle. He's a great route runner. He's just an electric guy when you get the ball in his hands. So I think he's a guy where you get the ball in his hands within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage and let him work from there. And he did that. He had 3 catches, but for 95 yards. So that kind of tells you everything right there.
On a big first week of the football season where everybody was playing a lot of big schools, Georgia obviously played against Marshall. Where do you kind of see Georgia stacking up, and how much can you take from this week 1 win when you try to compare them to the other teams that have had some major matches the first week of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at it and you're encouraged. Marshall is still, again, they lost so many guys to the transfer portal, a new coach, but they're still a group of 5 team out of the American, and Georgia basically dominated from the jump. So they control the game, which not everyone around the country has done, even with some lower opponents. So you take that, you go from there, try to continue playing with that enthusiasm, clean. I mean, they played pretty clean today. No turnovers, only a couple penalties. Keep those things clean and, see how it goes against Austin Peay, and then you got Tennessee the week after that.
Like you said, we got a big couple matchups. Austin Peay next week, but that Tennessee matchup is going to be something that everybody's excited to see. Jed, thank you so much for the time, man, and we'll send it back to you guys back in the studio.
Reggie, Jed, thank you. Appreciate that breakdown, and we can't wait to see Georgia against Austin Peay, and then, of course, Tennessee in 2 weeks. Let's talk about Georgia Tech, because I know you and I are very high on the Yellow Jackets this year. Week 1 win out in Colorado. It was perhaps one of the most talked about non-conference matchups out there. People now know Haynes King is the truth, but they didn't look like it out of the gate. They had a lot of mishaps, and truly the second half comeback story for the Yellow Jackets was the story in their win. What does this win say about what we think they could be this year?
I think it shows, one, the capability and also the poise of head coach Brent Key and the team. 3 turnovers in the first quarter on the road on a primetime game. That could be disastrous, and it wasn't. And then the ability to rush for 320 yards on the road in a place where it is hard to breathe up there in the Mile High City. It is a thing, the thin air in Colorado. So what Haynes King was able to do was show that he could still run the ball, be an effective part of the run game, but also make devastating plays that hurt defenses. And if he's able to do that, my only concern is how many shots is he going to take over the course of the season? I mean, he has one tough cookie, but still the attrition of 12 weeks of football. But he went out there, helped out his offense and his defense, and I think playing that style of football and overcoming the turnovers where you didn't have to throw the ball, I think it showed a lot that Georgia Tech is capable of this year.
Yeah, there were a couple times I was watching him and wincing myself, and I know he can take a lot, but over the course of a college football season, I don't know that that is sustainable, to your point. But if you haven't been paying attention to us talking about Haynes King over the last couple of years, I don't know what to tell you, because we've been trying to tell you this is a very good quarterback. 3 rushing touchdowns from him, and he had this come-from-behind victory, and this dude always straps the team to his back. What is it about the way that Haynes plays the position, and how far can he take this?
Well, his experience. He is now a senior. His experience, his vision, and knowing when to run the football. You know, mobile quarterbacks can always run, or if they pull the trigger too early before a play is really designed for them to run, it could be harmful. But he's really smart with how he runs the football. He's tough when he runs between the tackles. So he has an option. I expected him to rush for 600 yards. The way he took off in week 1, who knows? Maybe that could be 800 yards and maybe 8 or 9 touchdowns. If he scores 10 touchdowns on the year, that could be immensely helpful to what they want to do running the football. And the king of the city certainly will be worthy of his crown.
The way that he lowers his shoulder makes me nervous sometimes, but if anybody can take it, it's Haynes King. Look, what are your realistic expectations for this team, given the fact that they beat a good Colorado team, and it does look like if they clean up those mistakes that we talked about, the 3 turnovers in the first half of the game, that it feels like they could kind of go anywhere. Quick answer from you.
They should be more than 8 wins, and I think the ceiling could be 10. The biggie is in a couple of weeks against Clemson. They win that game, they're 3-0. Who knows where that could take them, and then you can start talking about dreams of an ACC championship appearance.
When Clemson lost, I immediately thought, Yellow Jackets, sneak in there. You got a chance. All right, coming up, we are 1 week away from the NFL season, so the Falcons season is right around the corner, and we're going to give you some pretty spicy season predictions after the break. Welcome back, everybody. Let's talk about some predictions for this Falcons team. We'll talk about real football starting next Sunday, but let's start with the offensive MVP. Who should it be this year for the Falcons?
Without a doubt, it's Bijan Robinson.
Of course.
Guy's the baddest running back in the NFL behind Saquon Barkley. And now with Michael Penix Jr. taking over, I think his receiving yards are going to make him even more effective on the football field. The fact that now you have questions at the right tackle position where you may have to go quicker or maybe do some things until you figure out who can solidify that position might make you have a quick passing game where Bijan Robinson can not only run the ball, but he can catch the ball and scorch defenses. We also want to see him break some home runs. We haven't seen him break a lot of home runs. He's got it in him. We'll love to see him break home runs this season. I think he's got the ability to do it.
Doesn't it blow your mind that a UDFA and Nathan Carter had a longer touchdown run than we've seen from Bijan Robinson in the preseason game?
Well, maybe Bijan saw that tape and wants to be a competitor with a teammate and make one longer.
You know what? I think Bijan has it in him as well. For me, I'm going to go Drake London. I would love to pick Bijan Robinson because I do agree with that. But second behind him is a guy who is anxious to break out even further than he did in the 2024 season. He had his first 1,000 receiving yard year last year. He had 9 touchdowns with a quarterback. Remember, there was a hodgepodge of quarterbacks going on for Drake London in his first 2 years, only having 6 touchdowns. He went significantly up in that number, and the targets to Drake certainly went up as well. We don't know what's going on with Darnell Mooney. We're going to get those answers from Raheem Morris, but Drake London is going to be a reliable and often target for Michael Penix Jr.
Drake London, 4th in the NFL in receiving yards last year, and that was with Kirk Cousins for 4 weeks, whatever, hurt, not hurt, whatever, not throwing touchdowns and throwing interceptions. So he had a month where he did not have a productive quarterback delivering the football to him.
Put some respect on Drake London's name, okay? All right, let's go defensive MVP. Who are you picking?
You know, we look at the youngsters, but we need a veteran. Arnold Ebiketie, he came on strong. He led the team in sacks last year. So if he's able, I know we have big expectations for Jalen Walker, for James Pierce Jr., but it should be a veteran. And we lost Grady Jarrett. It'll be the first time without Grady in a decade. Arnold Ebiketie needs to show that he is a guy who has the motor and can lead this defense repeatedly, getting to the quarterback and helping out his offense on a repeated basis.
I like that. And AK seems poised for a very big breakout year if you want to go that way too. I'll go really quick with mine. I think that it's going to be easy. Who do you think I'm going to pick? It's Jesse Bates, of course. Only defender in the National Football League, by the way, that had 4 interceptions and 4 pass breakups last year. This guy is all over the football field. You know what he brings to the table. He is the best safety in the NFL, in my opinion. And if he is paying attention to these contracts out there, he looks at Kyle Hamilton's, which was record-breaking in Baltimore, by the way, and he's looking at the Falcons like, hey, I'm up in 2 years, and I might need to get paid a little bit of money. Jesse Bates is seriously one of the best things to happen to this Falcons team of recent memory to me. I think it's going to continue to amplify for Jesse in this next year. Let's go breakout player, home team. Who you choose?
I like one of the youngsters, James Pierce Jr.
Love that.
He has been healthy. He has been relentless. He has been aggressive. He has frustrated his own teammates, frustrated the Tennessee Titans. This guy loves playing football, and it has demonstrated itself in the preseason. Now, holding up over 17 weeks with NFL tackles on him, he has to prove that. But I think he has the ability to prove a lot of people wrong who thought it was a reach to go and get him in the first round, giving up a pick next year to get him. But I think it can work out just fine if he is able to wreak havoc from start to finish this year.
By the way, Falcons fans, if you are going to see him for the first time in person, you're going to realize just how tall this guy really is. He is a freak of nature. He's going to be unbelievable, I think, for this team. Totally agree with that. My breakout player, I want it to be Ruka Rororo. I'm pulling so hard for this guy in his second year, and I think he's really going to benefit from this attack style that these defensive coaches continue to talk about. Nate Ollie is going to be all up in Ruka Rororo's face and really having a lot of expectations for him. He's going to play primarily inside. That's pretty much all he's going to play. And with the departure of Grady Jarrett, as home team talked about earlier, they need someone to step up. I think Rook is certainly the guy to do that. We saw a small sample size for him in his rookie season, but this is a different type of attack style defense, especially in that interior. I like Rook to break out this year.
And good, his rookie season, he did get a chance to play with Grady Jarrett. So there were some things, and they were buddies as well. So he did get to learn some things from a veteran who we're going to miss. And now maybe the heir apparent to Grady is Ruka Rororo, and he has a great opportunity this year.
We'll go really quick on our predictions. What's yours? Season predictions overall.
9-8. It will take some prayer and maybe some libations to get through it, I'm sure, as Falcon fans know. But I'm going to say 9-8. They win the South, and they host a playoff game.
Yeah, if you've ever seen his social media, there is a lot of libations when the Falcons play on Sundays. I am going to agree with home team, believe it or not. I'm going 9-8. I've stuck with that prediction from the very jump, and I'm not going to waver from that. I do think that we're going to get the playoffs here in Atlanta once again. I'm excited about it. I'm also excited about the fact that Chris Sale is back for the Braves. What a pivot I just made there. But the Braves, there's not a lot to talk about with them these days, but you do want to talk about the reigning Cy Young winner coming back to play a little bit longer for this year. What was exciting about the way that he was able to come back on the bump and really deliver?
That he's fine. It's just, this is the season. If this season had a nickname, it would be Can't Get Right. The Braves just can't get right. And had he not had the freak injury, he would have been on the mound to stabilize a lot of things. He'll be our ace next year, and so it's just good to see him be just fine after the freak injury.
Yeah, I do think that it's a good thing to get him back, and there's not a lot to be very excited about, really, for the Braves. It's one of those seasons where, unfortunately, you're thinking, when can this end?
Just have some fun. You want them to win at home, have some hope going into next year. There's some guys that might be able to earn a spot on the roster, and Brian Snicker talked about that. So just because things are lost this year doesn't mean you can't make a spot or make an impression this year. Just have some fun. People still come to the ballpark at the end of the year. Have some fun and make it a fun experience at Truist Park.
Braves fans have been really spoiled by all the success recently, so I understand the expectation, but I do think they're going to get there next year. It's just this year you got to wrap a bow on it and look forward to what is to come. But something else that you can look forward to for sure, I want to shout out the Atlanta Dream for clinching a spot in the playoffs on Friday night. They are currently third in the WNBA standings and will host a playoff game for the first time since 2018 in September. Truly, it's been an unbelievable turnaround for the Dream, having won 10 more games this season than last year with still 5 games to go. A lot of people thought Carl Smesko was the answer, and perhaps he was. Up next for them, they're on the road tomorrow against the already eliminated Connecticut Sun. All right, coming up, I'm going to be joined by Locked On Falcons host Aaron Freeman to get you completely ready for the Falcons season opener against the Bucs. All right, Falcons fans, it is the week that you're waiting for. We finally get to talk about an actual football game, not preseason, regular season, and it's a big NFC-style showdown against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when they come to play at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And here to break it all down is my good friend and sometimes Locked On co-host, Mr. Aaron Freeman. He is just the face of Locked On Falcons and such a good analysis for all things Falcons. Aaron, appreciate you being here. Game week officially here for the Falcons, and we know that it's going to be a much anticipated debut for a lot of guys, but what do you think the Falcons' key to a win in this one will be?
Well, the further we go along, the more football evolves, but the more it kind of stays the same, Maria, where the game is won and lost in the trenches. And I think if the Falcons can control the line of scrimmage, particularly given some of the concerns they have at the right tackle position with starter Caleb McGarry out of the lineup, they're able to keep this offense on schedule either through the passing game or on the ground so that they don't necessarily get into some third and long situations where that Bucs pass rush with guys like Vita Vea and Kaleja Kancey, and now newly added Hassan Reddick can pin their ears back and get after the quarterback. I think that will be a key for the Falcons' success on offense. And I think defensively, it's the similar sort of conversation. Winning the line of scrimmage, whether that's stopping the run and getting after Baker Mayfield, I think will be a huge part of this Falcons' success come week 1.
Remember, Baker's been dealing with a little bit of an injury, but head coach Raheem Morris said he doesn't believe it. He said that in a press conference a couple weeks ago. We'll see just how healthy that quarterback is. Now, you mentioned the trenches and the offensive line for the Falcons. They have run into a lot of bad luck, Aaron, as you and I have discussed many times. But Tampa, honestly, in a very similar boat with their injuries, if not worse than the Falcons. They could be without 4 key offensive players next Sunday. How much of an impact could that have on this game?
It could have a huge impact where when you're looking at this Bucs offense, particularly being down left tackle Tristan Wirfs, wide receiver Chris Godwin's out, wide receiver Jalen McMillan's out, tight end Cade Otton could also be limited. And as you mentioned, the quarterback may also be dealing with some issues as well. That potentially limits the Bucs' firepower. And in a game that we saw, 2 games last year, where we saw basically shootouts where basically the team fastest to 30 points was the team that was in a position to win the game at the end. Not having that firepower on the Bucs standpoint could be, impactful in the end, particularly in the fourth quarter if the Falcons defense needs to get a stop. And it will be a lot easier if they're not dealing with some of those high caliber weapons that the Bucs are dealing with, or the Bucs have out of the lineup. So I think these injuries could have a dramatic impact on the outcome of this game, particularly late in the game where, it may boil down to whoever has the ball last might win it.
It's going to be exciting. It always is whenever Tampa and Atlanta meets up. Now, I wanted to bury this question a little bit further in so people pay attention, and they were waiting for us to talk about the quarterback, Michael Penix Jr. Finally, it is his team. We're actually going to see him in a game. We know he didn't play any preseason action this year, but in 2024, he did play in 5 games, started 3 of them, all 3 of the last ones of the 2024 season. So the MPX era, it is here. It has arrived. How do you think it will begin?
I hope it begins even better than it ended, right? Where you saw the Falcons score 38 points against the Carolina Panthers. We won't comment on how many points the Panthers scored in that game. But I think if you can get off to a fast start, you saw this Falcons offense really get after the Bucs defense in both of their games with Kirk Cousins. And given the expectation that the ceiling for this Falcons offense is potentially higher with the younger Michael Penix, with his athleticism, with his arm talent, I think it's not crazy to expect a similar sort of big number on the scoreboard for the Atlanta Falcons come Sunday, week 1. So I'm hoping to see, this firepower get fully unleashed and unlocked come week 1.
We'll see what happens with Darnell Mooney. We know that he has been dealing with some issues. Hopefully he can go out there against Tampa Bay. But Mike has looked so good throughout training camp, so we're excited to see what he looks like and all those weapons that he has to play with as well. Now, we do know that a couple of Falcons rookies will definitely be starting in the secondary, right? Xavier Watts opposite of the veteran Jesse Bates there at safety, and then Billy Bowman is the starting nickel for this team. Potentially a few more, Aaron, depending on what the plan is for James Pierce Jr. and Jalen Walker. We'll get those answers shortly, but what rookie will impress the most against Tampa, in your opinion?
Well, the answer I hope is the correct answer is Billy Bowman, because he's going to be the guy that's going to have to do part of the heavy lifting of keeping Mike Evans in check. Mike Evans has been a Falcon killer for the last 11 years that he has been in Tampa Bay. He almost always has at least one monster performance against the Atlanta Falcons per year. It's usually the first matchup, and then usually the Falcons will make adjustments in that second game and keep him in check. But if the Falcons can keep him in check come week 1, Billy Bowman's going to be a big part of that. The Bucs do like to utilize Mike Evans, out of the slot on about a quarter of his snaps. And so about a quarter of the time, the 5'10", 190-pound Billy Bowman's going to find himself lined up against a nearly 6'5", 235-pound Mike Evans. And that's going to be a big challenge for Billy Bowman. But he has the sort of physicality, the feistiness, the toughness to not back down from that challenge. And I hope, he will be able to show himself that, hey, he belongs in this league by taking on one of the NFL's best wide receivers right out the gates.
Billy Bowman's a scrappy player. It's why the Falcons drafted him, and hopefully how he's going to get to Mike Evans. You mentioned what a tough task for him week 1. All right, last question for you. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you who you think is going to win this season opener for the Falcons.
Got to go with the Falcons.
Yeah.
I've been picking them the last several years to win the opener. It hasn't always gone my way, but I'm going to keep, planting my flag on that hill. And I think given their success sweeping the Bucs last year, it's at home. It's a great way to set the season off in the right way. I expect a similar kind of shootout type of game where we might see both of these teams get into the 30s on the scoreboard, but I do expect the Falcons to walk away with the W.
Welcome back, everybody. Tonight's Maria's Minute is all about Arch Manning and his 2025 debut as the true starter, really because it goes hand in hand with what I believe is a common occurrence with a negative outcome. Here's what I mean. The amount of hype and, quote, awards and accolades given to Arch Manning before he even started a single college football game at quarterback is out of control. Ultimately, he was set up for failure according to the expectations set by so many others. Unfortunately, and fortunately for Arch, his uncles have 4 Super Bowl rings between them, and his grandfather is in the College Football Hall of Fame. There's already plenty of pressure there. He's a young quarterback with an entire career ahead of him, and what? Because of the outside noise, he needed to dial up a historic debut in 2025 or he's terrible? That's insane to me. Also, don't forget, we are talking about the most complex position in all of sports. It takes time. Let's also not forget that Ohio State is a really good football team, and they won the national championship last year. Let's also stop giving people their due before they even have a chance to prove themselves. Guys, thanks for watching each and every Sunday. Have a fabulous week, and remember, the Falcons are back.